Hi, everybody. Ed Bixby here from the Global Green Burial Alliance with my co-host Gretchen Spletzer, and this is Spotlight Now.
Hi, everyone. It's me, Gretchen, and we are here with Glenda Villegas. Am I pronouncing that right, Glenda?
Villegas.
Villegas. And she is with Threshold uh, Family or Directed Funerals. And the website is thresholdsfamilydirectedfunerals.com. And she's a funeral director that has a few people on staff. She has a death doula and a grief support person, um, and a end of life coach. I'm looking at the website right now, and just looking here, everything about her business and what she does for families is really incredible, and I think great. So, Glenda, one of the things you mentioned in the website is that you are helping families make their funerals more meaningful. And I'm really interested in, how you do that and how that happens. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So, as the title states, Threshold's home and family directed funerals, we really put the family first. My first question to the family is, what do you need from me? Let's talk about what is it that you want to get out of this service. Then the next thing I ask them is final disposition. Are we going to a cemetery? Are we doing green burial? Do you know about green burial? I start off with that. And I have a new service where it's full body burial out in the ocean. So, I'm talking to families about that. When they can also do the white rose aquamation,
yeah, I saw
and they
that.
can
Yeah.
yeah, and they can be placed in Joshua Tree or the Green Burial Cemetery in Fallbrook, the Masonic Fallbrook Cemetery. So, I mean, and that's close. Both of those locations are close. Fallbrook's a little closer to San Diego.
Yes.
But I'm giving the families the options out the door, as they call, and we're talking about what is it that you really want and need. Sometimes they'll have answers right away. Sometimes they'll want to talk to other family members and see what it is the rest of the family wants to do. And then there's always the option of having the ceremony without the person present for those that have to travel really long distances. You know, it's it's really about thinking, what do I need? Like if it were my dad and I was talking to the funeral director, I'm thinking about what do I need? So if they're not thinking about it, me as a funeral director, I'm asking you, what do you need from this? Just to make sure that their needs are being taken into consideration all the way through the process.
Are they at all familiar that with that? Well, I guess the fact that they called you, they're a little familiar with what you do, but do some of them or any of them have in mind like what can be done as far as, creating their own ritual? Like, is that completely new to them, or um, are they just really, yeah, tell me about that because I think so many people don't are so hands off with death. They have no idea like the beauty of creating, even putting flowers around the body, decorating the casket, um, picking that place in a green burial cemetery that's going to be really special. Like, do they have any clue about that or?
Most of the people that the cases that I've had up to date is it's all new information to them. They thought it was just rumors. Those that work with that have been working with a death doula or death midwife or a home health care, not home health care, um, home funeral guide, they kind of know what the options are, but unless they've already been through a home funeral, they're kind of skittish about things. Like, really, I can keep them at home? Yes, you can keep them at home.
Yeah.
Legally, I can keep them at home? Yes, legally, you can keep them at home. And the other thing I tell them is, one, you don't really need me because they don't. In the state of California, they can do everything themselves, you know, provided they know what to do. So I listen to the family and I'm like, okay, I'm sizing up what is it I think they need, and then I'm asking them along the way. As far as ritual, you're right. Our society, the way it is today, has gotten away from it. And here's what my experience has been. When I deal with a family who is open to creating their own rituals, and I want to make this very clear to anyone who is listening and everyone that's listening, there's no wrong way to do a ritual. Whatever it is for you and what you need and the living need, that's the right thing to do. If you need to sit around and you're a musical family and you just want to sing and take turns, that's your ritual. If you are an artistic family and you want to draw and you want to draw all over the cardboard casket, or maybe you have a wooden casket, whatever it is that you've chosen, and you want to put artwork all over the room, or you want to put pieces of artwork with them, you know, write them letters, whatever it is for you, it's the right ritual. And I call these rituals and I call these things because we've gotten away from them. And each family is different and unique. Each family has things that they really like. And having a home funeral gives you the flexibility and the freedom to set it up the way that you want it, to have 24-hour access to your loved one, and to include friends and family and create a timeline that fits everybody's schedule, not just the institution schedule. Mm-hmm. So, and I've also had the question of, well, how long can I keep someone at home? Technically, the answer is as long as you want, but I want to consider that the body is going to be decomposing. So keeping the body home for 6 or 8 days is going to look much different than 3 days, you know. And I also like to consider with families food and flowers. Most families have a friend, or they have their own flowers in their yard. And I like to encourage people to think outside the box. And why not just, if they were a person who loved flowers like I do, I grow my own, go out into when I'm dead, I hope they go out into my yard and go pick my flowers, you know, and go grab some of the blooms that are coming in and make arrangements out of those, because those are the flowers that meant the most to me, you know.
Yes, that's the meaningfulness. That's
right.
All those
the
little
things
acts.
That you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And pictures, you know, like it's really nice to be able to put out whatever pictures that you want, not something that matches the decor, you know.
Yeah. Well,
and these are the things. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, Glenda. I mean, you know, certainly you have an attitude which is welcome, in the sense that, you know, most people don't realize that funeral professionals, you know, in California can certainly give a certain level of assistance with the family, allowing them to do many things on their own, which is very important. So that open-mindedness is really key to a successful business model for someone who's offering the types of services that you're offering. With that being said, you know, what drew you, you know, to this business model? Was there anything that personally that drew you to wanting to take a different look at funeral service and how it's provided in, you know, in the San Diego area?
Okay, I was working at a cemetery, and I had this case where this man had lost his wife 2 years before, and then he lost his daughter, his 23-year-old daughter, to cancer. He lost them both to cancer. And we were bringing her back from Tijuana. They had ran out of insurance money over here, so they went over there for treatment. And she didn't make it. And he had her cremated over there and then brought back this way. And it was told to him that he couldn't bring her full body back. So he got misinformation there. And then during the service, I got in trouble for letting him place his daughter's urn in with his mother's casket. Now, this man in under 3 years, lost his wife and his only daughter, his only child, you know, and for him to be able to place that into the casket was really something he wanted to do. And when my supervisors reprimanded me for that, and um, I didn't think it was right. I thought every parent should be able to do that, and why not? What was it really harming? And then of course they went on and on and on about protocol and security, and it didn't set well with me. So then that's when I started praying for another option. I love serving families. I love helping families, and I want them to do it their way. I don't want to tell them how to do it. I mean, there are certain rules and regulations that even I won't, tiptoe
Yeah.
over. But there's a lot of flexibility in California. California is wonderful in their embracement, at least from the legal standpoint, of what they allow a family to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if a family wants to do everything by themselves in the state of California, they can, which is fantastic. From the death certificate and burial permit, all the way up to transport and everything. They don't need a funeral director. And I think
That's
they get
so
bullied.
great in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Not that funeral
Yeah.
directors aren't great for guiding a family to reclaim that ritual, but to be able to do it on your own and have that option is so great too.
Yeah. It's really empowering. And this is what I want everybody to hear and focus on. I know if this is the first time you're hearing about this, you may be having reserved ideas. I had a close friend of mine go, "There's no way I'm going to keep my mom at home or put her in a freezer where you turn her into a popsicle." And I'm like, "Okay, so what are you going to do?"
Mm-hmm.
They're like, "Oh, embalming. That's what I'm going to do. That's the right thing to do." And I'm like, "Okay, so where did you hear about that? I mean, like, why is this stuck in your head? Why are you not open to other ideas?" And then that conversation didn't go anywhere. But I say that to say that there's a lot of misinformation out there. Families do have the right to do everything on their own, and it's the feedback that I get afterwards. I have so many letters and so many postcards and things where people, because I get a chance to connect with the families at a pretty deep level, those that want to connect. And and at the end of this, it's kind of like their connection forever. You know what I mean? And because there's a type of bonding that goes on with this,
Yeah.
teaching them how to wash the body, showing them that is something they can do. I had a woman who was really apprehensive about touching her mother's body. And I said, okay, well, just what about washing her hands? Because most of us girls growing up, we painted our mother's nails, right?
Yeah.
So I let her do that. And she just started bawling. And then she just started talking to her mom and saying all the things that she didn't have the courage to say when her mom was alive. Because her mom was like big and bold, really outgoing, and just that lady was on fire. She was gorgeous in death. There,
Mm-hmm.
she really didn't need anything. We barely put makeup on. She was gorgeous.
Wow.
And she just was such a force of nature. And this one of her daughters, it was her youngest daughter, was super smart and really quiet, and just reserved. And she just, at the end of that funeral, when everything was all done, she just hugged me and hugged me and hugged me. And she goes, "Thank you." And then I got a letter from her, and she goes, "I'm glad you gave me that option. I didn't even know I had the option." She goes, "I know I was so apprehensive to do it." She goes, "But I feel so much better now. I feel like I connected. I know my mom is dead, but I'm not scared for my mom,
Yeah.
and
That's
the grief process. Yeah.
yeah, that's the process you don't realize happening when you're going through it. And I think that's, the options of doing it yourself or having a funeral home, I think are great. But I think in the end, I think families would find that, I mean, we can do a lot of things by ourselves, but why not have the assistance of a funeral director that's had the experience and is, educated and versed and experienced in all these things to teach us and guide us and be strong for us? Because on top of, yeah, you could do it yourself, you're pretty torn up often. And it's nice to have
Right.
that loving support. So I think a lot of funeral directors feel threatened by doulas or threatened by this change, but I don't see that at all. I think it's an opportunity for them to be more genuine and authentic with the work they're doing in the world.
And see, and that's why I've teamed up with doulas, death midwives, and home funeral guides, because in the doula world, they're there with the family before the family member passes. So they're communicating with the family, they're communicating with that person who's passing, and they're doing everything they can to help facilitate a peaceful passing.
Mm-hmm.
And they get to help with finishing everything. They get to help the family navigate that system with me,
Mm-hmm.
all the way into what the final disposition is. And I will tell you, that creates a much larger support system for the family, a
Mm-hmm.
much larger. And I think moving forward, like when I think about families and how to support them, how much having the doulas, the death midwives, and the home funeral guides, having them help support the family through this process, make sure I get to every family.
Right.
It helps spread me out. It helps
Yeah.
me help more families. And I believe that moving forward, the more of these death doulas and midwives and home funeral guides that get involved and start helping families in this capacity, I think the more families will see they're served better. They're served in a more complete way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. I know I
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, because and also not everybody has family to go through this with either, for one thing. And then after you go through a death, so many people are not that comfortable talking about it. You end up, being really lonely through the process. So with this support and people who know and understand and are on your team is wonderful for
Yeah,
sure.
It
that's
is.
what.
It
Go
really is,
ahead.
Glenda. I mean, we really appreciate, we at the GGBA really appreciate this insight. It's important for our listeners to understand that these individuals, these services, people like you exist. You're out there, you're serving the communities, and you're helping build a better tomorrow for all of us. So, we commend you for all the work that you've done, and we really do appreciate your participation today, and would love to see you back here at the GGBA, maybe talking on a forum or something like that to enlighten us, a little more about what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
well,
Absolutely. I would love that.
yeah. Um, well, everybody, you can find Glenda on her website. Like I said, let me bring myself back over to it. Thresholds Family Directed Funerals.com. And wait, did I get it wrong? Wait.
It's
Thresholds Family Directed Funerals.com. Yeah. And check out her website and what she does over there. And um, we're really happy to have you, Glenda. Thank you for sharing with us.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, and everybody go over to the Global Green Burial Alliance website and sign the pledge and join our network. And if you have an interesting story that you want to have shared with the world, reach out to us and let us know, because we really want to bring people's good works to the world. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.